Alright, welcome back to Gahkthun of the Golden Lightning, brought to you by GameAnyone.com. An exercise for the reader. This is an exercise for the reader. Here we have a single girl. The girl had lost everything. She did not have the first idea what to do with herself. The girl had lost her way. Her father, mother, brother, and sister were all gone. Sitting in her huge house, walking through her empty home, the girl believed she was all alone in the world. The girl had nothing, absolutely nothing. Or so she believed. She had a pendant, but not the key. She couldn't open it. The girl believed she was all alone. She didn't know what to do. An adult came to the girl. The adult began to talk to her about something. The girl was about ready to cry. The girl was trembling. What should she do? Should the girl close her eyes and calm down? Should the girl stay put and wait for help? Should the girl scream and cry? Exercises for the reader involve a time limit. Please choose your response before the blue meter above disappears completely. Failing to respond in time will choose choosing the World Intervention option. As this is the first exercise, you will be given a longer period of time than usual to choose. Huh. Well. Won't this be fun? The girl squeezed her eyelids shut. The girl tried to calm down. She decided to think things over carefully. The adult stretched out his left hand toward her. He grabbed hold of the girl's body. The adult was a kidnapper. The girl would no doubt be carried off. Would she become his plaything? Would she be sold in some far-off country? Would she meet an even crueler fate? Or perhaps...
やれやれ。まぶたを開けろ、幼子よ。お前の瞳は輝きを映し込む星の導きだ。恐れるな。羽ばたくがいい。空を舞う雷の鳥のように。
Singing. She could hear small birds singing. Not as many as you'd hear in the forest or her homeland, but quite a few nonetheless. I have assumed that was the wrong choice, but oh well. Confused thoughts floated sluggishly through Neon's mind. What was this? This awesome sensation, this peaceful atmosphere. Where was she? Where? In a kidnapper's home, obviously. It had been a while since she'd felt this. This sensation of lying down in a state of complete relaxation. The heavy tension that had been her constant companion for the last 2 weeks was nowhere to be found. Her body and mind felt strangely light. She was just lying there in an absent-minded daze. She'd always been this way about waking up. Perhaps she'd overslept today. Stirring in her bed, Neon reached out for her alarm clock and checked the rotating panel display. The current time was 7 a.m. The current date, April 15th, a Wednesday.
寝過ごしてない。あれ。
It certainly felt as if she'd gotten more sleep than she could afford, but apparently that wasn't the case. Relieved, she exhaled softly, and then it came back to her.
あれ。私。
And then it came back that you were kidnapped and raped horribly.
寮のベッドよね。あれ。
Bewildering memories rose up to the haze and snapped together in bewildering ways. Disjointed, half-forgotten fragments of the previous night's events abruptly arranged themselves like pieces of a puzzle, the left hand reaching out for her. The startling force of his grip, the chill that ran down her spine. She'd been trembling. She was pretty sure of that. His broad-shouldered silhouette was the only image that stood out clearly in her mind. The details were all fuzzy. In particular, she couldn't remember his features. Come to think of it, had she ever looked that man in the face, even once? He'd grabbed her. She'd been terrified. She'd been trembling. And then... And then she screamed bloody murder.
まさか。まさかと口にしながら体を確認。変な感じはない。多分物の本にあったみたいな、ああいう。ないと思う。ない。ないよ。何もない。なかった。なかったはず。
Nothing happened ever. You're imagining things. Go back to bed.
でも、どうして。あれ。
Huh?
あれ。
An impressively wide, neatly paved road running alongside a sizable waterway. An avenue lined by trees and bushes, its air only slightly polluted. As always, there were no gurneys to be seen. In that respect, the scene was just as it had been for the last 2 weeks. The same was true of the unmanned freight trams that ran past every once in a while. Nothing out of the ordinary. But where were the students walking to school? The uniformed crowd she'd finally grown used to were missing. The road was, in fact, completely empty, except for Neon. The sound of water trickling down the channel beside the road seemed bizarrely loud. There were no voices to drown it out.
なんだろう。
That reminds me. Let's see what happens. The girl screamed and cried, tears running down her cheeks. She screamed for help. But what became of her then? What became of the girl? Was she rescued? Did she cry in vain? Was no one there to help her? This is depressing. Well, as it so happens,
お前の声は届く。たとえ空が灰色であろうとも。助けるものはある。必ず。お前は。故に羽ばたくがいい。空を舞う雷の鳥のように。
whatever. Is there really a correct choice then in that? Because they all seem to be depressing. No matter what happens.
「時計壊れてないよね。8時台登校時刻のはずなのに。今日休み？そんなことない。水曜日だよ。式典の類だってないし、復活祭は次の日曜日だし。なんだろう。
As she tilted her head in confusion, Neon's gaze turned to something she'd spotted out of the corner of her eye. Towering Chateau d'If. Today, as always, it loomed silently in the distance. No bell rang from its spire. The instant Neon laid eyes on it, she recalled that feeling of ice in her spine from a few hours prior. She couldn't think of any particular reason why. What was this? Her head still tilted at a quizzical angle. Neon walked on. This way, to your doom. And something else entered her field of vision. A signboard standing right in the middle of that wide road. It was a simple painted sign, dominated by a large arrow. This hadn't been here yesterday. Why would they leave something like that in the middle of the road? It could cause a traffic accident. There'd never been anything there before. Why on earth? And yet, there it was, plain as day, in huge white letters on a lecture hall's monitor-type automatic check blackboard. Classes are cancelled. It was the first time she'd heard of anything like this. And the first time she'd seen this huge room without another soul in it. Izumi and Elmbert weren't here, neither were any of the other students. Their classroom, built to accommodate 80 people, was totally empty. There was no sign of Miss Mason either. Had they forgotten to inform her? Had she simply missed the message somehow? Her machine phone wasn't one of the newer models that could keep a log of incoming calls, so she couldn't deny it was possible that they tried to get in touch. But still... This was all too odd. It didn't feel mysterious, so much as eerie. That was probably a better word for it. This completely empty lecture hall. The deserted elevated passageways. And also, there was one other thing. One thing in particular.
Watashi? 違和感、奇妙。なかったといえば嘘になる。考えてみればおかしな話だもの。でも、私はこの2週間、ずっと奇妙を感じていて。何よりも、疲れてしまっていたから。看板に書かれた通りに、私はネオンスからは歩いて。
Dubious and confused, she walked on. With a sidelong glance at the tram station, she kept moving forward, one step at a time. The signs hadn't said anything about taking the tram. It'd be a waste of money. She would just have to walk. All the way to the tall tower. It meant going to the central ward. Normally, second-class students avoided the whole area for fear of the disciplinary police and governing council. Roaring Surf Street was much the same. Any place with a high level of public order was dangerous for her. But there was nothing she could do. The signs had told her to come. And you believe what a signpost tells you? They were very odd signs. Come to think of it, there was no signature from the governing council or the disciplinary police. On any of them, but since she'd been singled out by name, she had to go. Just as these thoughts were running through Neon's mind, something caught her eye. Something standing right in front of the main entrance to Educational District Station 3. The tram station she decided to pass by. Uh-huh. She didn't want to pay the fare, but in this case, she didn't have much choice. Neon took out her student engine card. It was a counterfeit that had been provided by her owner, the sort that all second-class students carried. High-ranking students with great stockpiles of academic credits could use all of the school's public facilities free of charge. But if you were a second-class student, in that case, you were treated as a delinquent with 0 credits, and everything became painfully expensive. The fare was typically 2 silver coins, with no change. Reluctantly, Neon approached the automatic entrance gate and slipped her card into the slot. The machinery inside was designed to read data from a heavily compressed information entity. That is to say, an engine card. There was a small whirring of gears, a wait of perhaps 2 seconds. Neon sighed again, wondering how much it would deduct from her account. No charge. Really? A bit stunned despite herself, Neon passed through the open gates, and in no time at all, a tram pulled up to the station.
路面機関車の正面表示板を読み上げる。直通機関車。もう来たの？早すぎる気がするけど、私は疑問を抱かなかった。奇妙なところなのだから、奇妙なこともある。
The doors slid open with a hiss of compressed air. Thinking no further, Neon stepped on board. There wasn't any need to think. She just had to follow the directions. Get on the tram, let it carry her down the rails. And after that...
ガタゴト。この機関車に揺られるのは苦手。
And after that, you get kidnapped again.
これに乗るのは仕事へ行くときだけ。だから反射的に嫌だなと思う。普段は何も考えないようにしてるのに、普段と違うと考えてしまう。ああ、そうか。私は私の毎日が嫌なのか。いや、何が嫌なの？ダメ、やめて。これから5年頑張るんだから。嫌じゃない、嫌じゃない。私は全然大丈夫なんだ。
The tram came to a stop. It had taken perhaps 15 minutes to reach its final destination. The doors slid open automatically, realizing she'd arrived in the central ward. Neon hurried to her feet and made for the exit. The tram must have passed through Arch of Triumph Place, but she'd forgotten to look out the window. It was a shame. Second-class students didn't have many chances to see that wide avenue. It was a huge street, lined by school committee buildings, often used for major events. Neon had only been there once, during the entrance ceremony. The centerpiece was a replica of Paris's Arc de Triomphe, and the trams ran right underneath it on their way to the central ward. You could look up and see the strange mechanized arch in all its imposing glory. Neon had been hoping to get another look at it, but she'd been so caught up in her own thoughts that she hadn't even noticed passing through it.
欲しいことしちゃったな。せっかく通ったのに。
Exhaling softly, Neon stepped carefully down the stairs at the front of the tram. As she lowered herself to the road, her eyes glanced casually towards the driver's seat. There was always a uniformed figure at the front of the passenger trams, Neon glimpsed from the road. But now, her eyes found only empty space. No one was up there, or was it just the angle? No matter how she looked, there was no hint of that gray railway committee uniform. No sign of the conductor with their distinctive cap. Before Neon could so much as blink in surprise, the tram took off back down the path it had traveled. She peered after it, but the windows glared with reflected light, as if refusing her scrutiny.
もしかして無人だった？まさかそんな。無人機なんて聞いたことない。鉄道委員会がいらなくなっちゃう。見えなかっただけかな。うん、多分そう。
left a puzzle over the matter. Neon quickly convinced herself she'd been mistaken. Pushing it from her mind, she turned around and directed her attention upward, towards heaven. An enormous spire stood before her, the largest and tallest building in the Academia. Towering at its very heart, Chateau d'If, a tower standing thousands of feet tall. So massive, its shadow engulfed a different region of the man-made island with every passing hour. From where she stood, it wasn't obvious where the entrance might be, or if there even was one. The entire structure was jet black. What on earth was it constructed from, anyway?
Jokushinって扉なんてどこに
At the very least, the part of the tower she could see was a featureless wall. There was no visible entrance. She would have asked someone for directions, but the area was deserted. What happened to all that tight security? Wasn't this place supposed to be strictly off limits? Obvious questions sprung up one after another. This was just too strange, too mysterious, too unsettling.
あれ入り口さっきまで
There was a door. Less a door than a gate. An imposing jet black portal. Just like her dorm, its old-fashioned design had a strong touch of the Rococo style. Nevertheless, it wasn't open. In fact, it was sealed shut. There didn't even seem to be a phone installed on the wall for contacting the inside. Chateau d'If, a tower said to house a bell with the power to grant wishes. A tower that wouldn't have been out of place in the most ancient of fairy tales. Home to the oldest fairy tale in the Academia. Even the first years had heard of it at least once by now. Neon was no exception.
そこへと続く門は道は
The gate leading there. The path leading there. The corridors. The stairs. All were sealed tightly shut. To reach the foot of the Governing Council Tower, one needed only to go to the eastern part of the central ward. It stood beyond a line of towering scholar skyscrapers, looking down on them all. But the Chateau d'If, standing beside it, was another matter entirely. It had been a symbol of this man-made island since the days when it was still known as Gahkthun Offshore City. This tower had stood there for a very long time, and no one could enter it. No ordinary student could hope to see what lay inside, much less a second-class one. Only the 6 members of the governing council had that privilege. The tower was protected by dangerous anti-trespassing mechanisms, disarmable only through use of a superhuman art. The area around it was heavily secured by the Special Public Security Officers, a force under the direct control of the governing council and entirely separate from the disciplinary police. By all rights, Neon shouldn't even have been able to approach this place.
立ち入り禁止機構もないし、治安官もいないよね。なぜ？
She didn't understand. It made no sense. Why wasn't anyone there? It had been the same on the road to school, in the lecture hall, on the tram, and now in front of Chateau d'If. There'd been no one. She hadn't met anyone all day. Had she so much as seen another human being?
夢でも。
Can we just enter the place already, rather than lament that nobody's around and that this is obviously a trap?
見てるの？
But she felt the paved road against the soles of her feet. She smelled the lightly engine-polluted air, different from that of her hometown. This wasn't a dream. It couldn't be a dream. Or could it? Reality, then? Question, what is the world? Question, what is the scale? Question, what is it that you need? All these questions and
そ
more
して私は登っていく塔の中を。
will be answered on the next exciting episode of Gahkthun of the Golden Lightning. Look forward to it.